good, I think. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglash for the WDMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Well, we're going to take a relaxed pace today and recap some of the week with the first article. So we go over here to Democratic candidate Gabbard sues Google over account suspension. And she's not the first, but what happened was Google suspended her account 2 days after the presidential debate where she called for monopolistic control over Google. And she says, oops, I just want to say, I'm just going to get to this article, Thomas Maroney, but Customer Think knocks the author out of it. See, it goes to David Brock, and then when I hit this button up here, you can't see me hit the button, but it's a little button that turns blue up above. Customer Think, fix your website. Okay, so I just overtopped that. Probably should start over. How many minutes am I in here? Yeah, 2 minutes. Okay. Tulsi Gabbard sued Google, saying that 2 days after the presidential debate where she called for Google's regulation of their curatorship. You see, Google argues that we're a private company. We're not a medium because media is regulated. They have fairness doctrines that they can get in trouble and have their license suspended. Google doesn't have that, right? Nor does Facebook, nor does Twitter. So Google argues kind of both sides of the fence. They say we shouldn't be regulated because we're just a company that makes everything free. And we talked about that yesterday where, yeah, if you're not a customer of Google, you are the customer. I mean, you are the product. And so they give you away free because your search history and your interests and all of the things about you that they can sell to advertisers. And it's, as we talked about yesterday, I highly encourage you to watch yesterday's show about Google, the world after Google, or life after Google by George Gilder. Anyway, so here's a great case in point. It says she alleges that Google has established a clear trend of using its power over speech to favor certain political viewpoints. Interestingly, she's a Democrat candidate for president. Not, the conservatives who got together, who've been banned and had their accounts deleted, etc. But she calls for greater regulation and oversight of Google. Okay, and 2 days later, her account was suspended. Now, what Google says is our system triggered suspension because of unusual activity. Probably true. Probably absolutely true. I had a friend who had a Google business where he took long tail search terms and found people searching for things like that and sold them to the manufacturers. He kind of invented better search use of Google's paid search, and he'd sell the leads back. And, he'd just putter around with it. He told me that he was something like the second or third biggest reseller of Google clicks. And one day he came to work, Google suspended his account. Kaboom. No warning, no recourse. He was done. So Google does what they want, and that's fine. But if they were a media company, they would get in trouble for it. If they were a newspaper, you could see what they were up to. But in this case, you can't see whether their automated anti-fraud system suspended the account for unusual activity or whether they were just mad at her. That's the great part. There's no transparency whatsoever. I think that there should be a crowd. Google created voice recognition by keeping track of the mistakes that Google made where you corrected it. And it seems to me that we could sort of crowdsource what Google's up to with enough people participating. We could have a good idea of whether they're showing liberal ads to conservatives as an example. You know, I like to see them. I like to see a variety. I don't like to just see what I'm only interested in, or conservative ads to liberals, or blocking everything. You know, you can't tell unless you have a wide monitoring. And I think that there's a way to build it. So if you're really smart out there, let's talk. But by controlling the content we see, these companies are powerful enough at the very least to sway elections. Companies that are this big and have the potential to threaten democracy this much should not be allowed to curate content entirely without any transparency. Getting to transparency is going to be a difficult puzzle. A judge said that judges have ruled that Google, Facebook, and Twitter are private companies as opposed to government entities. But when a private company gets big enough, it becomes a monopoly and then subject to regulation. So there's a lot of calls. Elizabeth Warren is calling for that. And of course, President Trump is calling for some kind of oversight. And it's not clear exactly what. And it's not clear exactly what to do. But if we don't do it fast, we're only going to have Google candidates in office. Okay, now I want to get to Ritson because this was so exciting. Ritson kind of starts off slow. He's talking about the only shot to influence is to embrace the CMO title. And he talks about Sylvia Lagnando, I believe is how it would be pronounced. And she came to McDonald's, and during her reign, it says, same-store sales grew quarter after quarter, not bad for a 60-year-old franchise that many thought had seen its best days. And if you are a regular follower, you've seen that people, marketing people are calling for the CMO to be replaced by the CGO or the chief customer officer or something, right? Just all kinds of nonsense. And that when a lot of CMOs leave these days, their jobs are broken up and handled by less senior non-C-suite executives. Mark argues that he goes back to some other judges in time of ad quality. And he said there was an owner of a major global ad agency, or the founder, and he would evaluate the creative as either trash, that's not the word he used, or excellent, amazing, something, there was no grading, right? There was either one or the other. It was either garbage or it was fantastic. Okay, that was the only grades you got. And he said most CMOs should be judged that way. And so now they're breaking it up. And he says most of the problem with an 18-month tenure of CMOs is they get in the boardroom and everybody knows they're idiots. They talk about Instagram as the savior, and they have no clue about, oh shucks, I've talked to people that have no clue about cost of goods that are marketers. Talking with marketers at companies scares me, the little that they know about business. So anyway, Mark argues that it's not that the CMO title, as it's been embraced by business, has given marketers a great opportunity, and we're trashing it because we don't know enough about other disciplines like the other C-suite officers do. And that's a scary thought. And talking crap about Instagram and millennials might get you to the top of the marketing ladder. But once you get to the big room on the top floor, these superficial tactical robes are quickly ripped away to reveal the naked imposter beneath. And you know how I know that? I know that because often I'm meeting with the CEO, and the only people that are really trashing what I'm doing are the marketing people. The presidents love what I do because we get it down to EBITDA. Most marketers don't know what that is. And we get it down to real measurement of growth and real profit increase. Growth and profit at the same time. Find somebody who knows how to talk that language, and you'll talk to the president, you'll be in the C-suite. Anyway, Mark, thanks for another great article. I encourage you to read it. This is, I'm just booming over here. But he says the fact that we're talking about these other titles as a fix is insane. Okay, they're breaking up the job of CMO back to the way it was to keep the marketers from talking idiotic. Hard words from Mark Ritson. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will think you're smart.